going to the force majeure, the normal change in law itself, you can get the additional cost. Okay, that's what we discussed before. So this is about the National Highway Road Project contracts in India. So now we are going to discuss about the Singapore contract, that is Public Sector Condition of Contract for Design and Build, PSSCOC contract. So in that contract, how they have defined the force majeure. This is same as like the JCT contract. In the they have given one of the item as force majeure for extension of time for completion, but they didn't have defined what is force majeure or what are the various examples, what are the events which come under the force majeure in that contract. So one thing you can do is, as a general definition, the epidemic is beyond the both party controls. Nobody have forecasted, nobody have prevented or overcome. So it can constitute as a force majeure, and you can claim extension of time. But the point is, the force majeure event does not constitute for loss and expense claim. That means the cost relief you can't get under the you can't get under this contract. It's same like the JCT contract actually. So in that case, what you can do, you can see all the what are the various events they are given under the extension of time. One of the events is complaints with the requirement of any law, regulation, bylaw, or public authority or public service company as stipulated in class 7.1. I think we can apply the extension of time under this class because we have closed the site, we have stopped all the activities, we are inside the house because of the law or regulation or legislation provided by the government, stipulated by the government. So we can claim under this class. The point is whether we can get the cost relief under this class or not. Let's see. So under this class 7.1, variation arising from the complaints because of the government. The any variation necessitated as aforesaid, which could not have been reasonably foreseen by an experienced contractor at the time of submission of tender, shall be deemed a variation under clause 19 and dealt with such. So they are not coming under the loss and time relief. This can be deemed as a variation under the class 19 class, under the variation class. Sorry, it can be dealt. But this is it need to be its argumentative one actually. We need to argue whether this can be done or not. But since they have provided the extension of time class that we have to, the complaints with the requirement of any law can be stipulated as class 1.1. Maybe we can try as the variation under the 7.1 and we can define the class 19. Maybe we can get the cost relief also. But it is very difficult, I think, because under variation, it's like how we can constitute as a variation. There is 50% chance. Yeah, I have to finish the project within this month, but there is a law because of that. There is variation in everything. Okay, manpower variation because of that. I can't get all the people and work towards the completion of the project. I have to reduce the manpower. I have to reduce the material impact also there. So because of all those variation, that is the cost impact, whether I can get it or not. So under class 19, you can submit the claim. I think that is 50, but 70-30 we can tell. You can get the cost relief. Okay. But what they are telling is the employers shall deem not to be responsible or liable for any cost imposed by any requirement. But it's not that case, because if any law the government is introducing, because of that law, if you have to pay any additional amount to the government, that amount will not be provided by the employee. But this is not the case. Or any default or delay by any public authority in the enforcement or implementation of any law, regulation, or bylaw. I think this case is also not come under this class, because if new any leave regulation or law is brought by the government, and because of any implementation delay or enforcement delay, because of that any cost claim you are bringing, that will not be paid by the employer. But this is not the condition like that. But our condition is not like that. So we can try under the variation class, under the PSS COC contract, under variation. So another contract that is in the Singapore is Reda's design and build condition of main contract, Singapore. In that they have defined the force majeure. It is like FIDIC, but the definition doesn't include pandemic. So the same thing applies here also. We have to prove the COVID-19 is an epidemic that constitutes as a force majeure. Then we can claim the extension of time. This is same as the FIDIC contract. So what if force majeure and change in law class is not suitable is any other way? Now we have another way. We can suspend or terminate our project, like optional termination. Or we can suspend the project between and we can come out of the project. Escape from our liability actually. So that is possible under the common law in the court. That is called the doctrine of frustration. The doctrine of frustration may arise where a contract becomes impossible to perform as a result of supervening event that is not fault of either party. So if it is not fault of either party, that is supervening event, then the doctrine of frustration comes. Okay. So under this doctrine of frustration, the both party can be relieved from doing their liability, not doing their work. So that's what relief we will get from the doctrine of frustration. It's like the same class in most of the contracts. It will have like termination, optional termination. Like if the force majeure continues for some 84 days, or in FIDIC it is 84 days, then you can go for optional termination. In that, the client have to pay whatever the works the people or the contractor have worked. They have to pay all those money to the contractor, and they can relieve from the liability of doing that work. The same way, the doctrine of frustration class also, the relief will be given under the doctrine of frustration also. So it will be done in the court actually. It is come under the common law actually. So whatever the optional termination I have explained, it is in the FIDIC. In FIDIC it was 84 days. Due to the force majeure, then the one party can give termination notice to the other contract. So in that case, there are conditions like the client have to pay the amount for the work done by the contractor, and if they have bought any materials or equipment for doing this project, they have to pay the amount also, but the material and the equipment should be given to the client. So like that, there are certain conditions for optional termination also. You can try If the company want, they can try this also, optional termination, if the class is available in the contract, or you can go for the doctrine of frustration class, which is a common law. So what are the practical steps you have to do? First, you have to read the contract word by word clearly, your contract. Then you have to see if you have decided the particular class under which I'm going to claim, then you have to see what are the notification requirements, whether within 10 days I have to give the notice, or within 88 days I have to give notice, and which frequency, within 1 month I have to give the interim claims. So all the notification requirement you have to see, and you have to, whatever the delay occurs, always they will question how the contractor mitigate, any mitigation steps taken by the contractor. So in that case, it's not possible to mitigate the COVID-19, but what are the possible steps? Okay, I try to apply to the government for starting the work with minimum man-force, but they didn't give the approval. So okay, I am enclosing that evident also for that person. So I try to mitigate with less manpower, but the government did give approval. So because of that, the delay occurs. I have taken some steps, so like that mitigation steps or evidence documents. That's important. Record. That's very important, and you have to. That's like health and safety of the staff and the employee and workers. You have to take care in this difficult time. So that's all. It's we have discussed what are the various contractual rights and remedies available for the contractors in the COVID-19 situation. We have discussed about three force majeure, change in law, and doctrine of frustration or optional termination. We have seen force majeure in various type of contract, how they have defined in FIDIC, JCT, NAC, and we have seen about the change in law, and we have seen some examples from actual contracts, how it look like, and we have seen about doctrine of frustration and optional termination. So that's all. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.